How you doing? Not waking up yet, huh? I'm John, and the topic today is, should you hire an employee, which we always do, but why not a robot or an algorithm? So welcome to Human and Robot Research, HRR. Now you're going to say, well, I don't know anything about robots. Well, you better. So let me show you why. So if you're older, you remember the March of the Robots. Even Superman was challenged by robots. So 5 points for today, 5 things we're going to cover. First of all, I want you to rethink what you know about humans versus robots. Next, be ready for a tidal wave of robots, whether you like it or not. Realize that HR is mostly out of the loop. When someone decides to put in a call center, HR is involved. But what if they put in an IVR, a computerized system? They don't call us. So normally we're out of the loop. The goal is to increase productivity. You have to consider every option. So if there's a bomb and the police or the military have to defuse it, what's the better option? Me kicking it or a robot with a camera? Please say the robot. And then the most important thing is, you might not care about robots, but what happens when all of the jobs go away? So let's say McDonald's, they have a not bright person behind the counter and you order a Big Mac and they push. What happens when they turn the screen around and have another not that bright person? The customer pushed that button. Now, normally you'd say, okay, I work at McDonald's, I can get another job at Jack in the Box. But what if everyone replaces their cashiers with robots or with screens? They're going to be, excuse my French, pissed. And they're going to be unemployed, and they're not going to have other options. So when you say, I'm going to change this touch screen to the customer, what's going to happen is you're going to have a strike, or you're going to have violence. So quick example, I used to run a computer operation. We put in an IBM 360 supercomputer, and it ran for a week and then it stopped. Well, this is millions of dollars. So they looked at it and they said, there's a sticky substance in the machine. I don't know what happened. So it began running again. A week later, it stopped. Well, they had put in a video camera to find out what was happening. What was happening? This little old lady was going with her Coca-Cola, and she poured it in the machine. It's like the nicest little old lady. But she hated this machine, and she wanted to protect her coworkers. So what are you going to do when you have employees sabotaging the machine? All right, so in case you missed it, it's already started. The revolution's already started. So who produces more, people or robots? Well, the answer is, since 1970, all of us as people have gone to hell. And if you look at 1930, computers weren't very good. People got a pretty good education. I'm a professor. I can tell you in 1970, we totally screwed up education. And they're not learning very much. So people produce less. Computers, robots get smarter. Look at the difference. And you've heard we've lost all these jobs to Mexico. The answer is no, we haven't. 88% of the jobs we've lost to robots. So it's not bring the factories back, because they'll be full of robots. I don't want to hear that, John. What percent of jobs will be robots? Here's a quote. We'll take over 50%. That's half of the jobs in the next decade. Here's another person. We're approaching the time when machines can do essentially everything. Even your job. All right? The demand for robots is increasing. Look at that. They're buying robots like crazy. So the question is, first question is, are you currently capable of deciding whether we should hire a robot or a person? Now, you've heard of unconscious bias, right? Well, we have that. We like people. We always pick people. Come on, we have a reputation in HR for pushing back technology, fighting it, whatever. So let's see. Are drivers becoming obsolete? So you've been on the airport train? See any drivers? If you do, you better be careful. There's not supposed to be one. Budweiser, just last year, started delivering beer on a truck without a driver. Now, I don't know if the driver was in the back drinking Budweiser, but... Now, you might be afraid. Well, how many of you would get in a driverless truck? See, a couple. All right, Uber, already operating driverless cars in Pittsburgh. So what you need to know if you're worried about a robot killing you is that 150 employees die every day now. Robots can't be killed. How many truck drivers die? 750 every year. Look at all the lives you're going to save if you have a robot driving it. And then poor taxi drivers for Uber, the number one occupation to get murdered is a cab driver. So you might be doing them a favor by replacing them with a robot because they won't get killed. Clear? This is from 7-Eleven. You like your Slurpee. Here's it being delivered. Domino's has they call it a DRU. They deliver pizza. Comes down in a wire. And I mentioned McDonald's. They have moved to self-service. There are no counter people. In China, there's no delivery people. They have robots. So you really need a human being to come up to you and say, here's your food. Oh, by the way, you looks like you gained weight. Maybe you shouldn't be eating this. Do we want rude people delivering? So it turns out. And my favorite, this is in San Francisco, pizza truck. You've seen pizza trucks, right? You know what's unique about this one? Anybody know? Well, it has a robot inside. Robot makes the pizza, but that's not the good part. It has 56 ovens. So it makes the pizza, puts it in the oven, and when they drive up to your door, the pizza comes out 2 minutes or less before they arrive. Aren't you tired of cold pizza? Amazon, people are superfluous there. How about production jobs? So there's a thing you should know, it's called a cobot, cooperative robot. Here's one at Baxter. Isn't that cute? So instead of replacing the human, it's a human and a robot, and they work together. And Europe does a lot of this because unions don't like their jobs replaced. How about answering questions? So in HR, we used to, or still do, answer a lot of questions. So if you have a question, can Alexa do that? Siri do that? And here's my favorite. So this is Jill Watson. Anybody know what Watson means in the computer world? IBM's Watson, great. So this is a class at Georgia Tech, and she's the TA the whole semester, and they give her really high ratings. But it turns out she's not a person. She's a robot. The highest rated TA was a robot. Now, they didn't do it with professors, because I would have lost that too. If we restrict immigration, then here we have robots that can do this. I mentioned the police, the military. And then you say, well, these are mostly menial jobs. What about professional jobs? So how about the medical field? So this is Watson. How many medical papers are published a day? So it's 8,000. It's a huge number. So it turns out doctors are busy. They don't have time to read that. And when they don't read these papers, people die because they don't get the latest solution. So they brought in Watson, sifted through 20 million papers in 10 minutes, and they came up with a diagnosis. And as a result, they found 30% of the things that people missed. So even reading, it turns out computers are better. And people are alive because of this. Well, I would have found you a cure, but I was kind of busy. No, not good. All right, and if you know anything about surgery, laser surgery, whatever, it's all electronic now. So if you work at a hospital in healthcare, you're going to have to make this decision. Are people cheaper? Are they better? Would the patients freak out? Remember Robbie Robot? Can you imagine? Will Robinson, danger. It might scare the crap out of every patient. Or make them comfortable, who knows? All right, any questions? Sometimes the entire operation will be gone. So this is Cafe X in San Francisco. There are no people. You order on your phone, you pick up. Do you really need the person in the Starbucks to misspell your name? That really make your day. All right. By the way, you can't afford to remain idle. So I call it a tidal wave. But it's nothing. A tsunami is coming. As soon as, so we know when mobile phones are adapted, everything changes. So it turns out when Uber goes driverless, which might be in 2 years, everything else is going to change. You're going to have a tsunami. So get ready. Once people feel comfortable getting in a car with no driver and heading down the freeway, they're going to want all sorts of other technologies. So here are some of the technologies you're going to see. So you probably don't know this, but do you know the internet is going away? And it's being replaced by phone apps. How many times do you search a web and use an IP address? How many times do you search with an application? So the ratio has changed. The internet is going away. Not my fault. You have that damn phone with you 24 hours a day. Some of you sleep with it. Okay, voice recognition going to be huge. Facial recognition. Turns out when you're trying to hire someone, can you tell if they're lying? Even the FBI can't. But it turns out if they put a camera up to you closely, there are certain blood vessels that constrict, and they can tell if you're lying. But of course, during interviews, everyone's lying. That's what we do. What's wrong with Uber? Oh, nothing. Employee tracking, how's this? What when you look down and you see your name tag and it has a speaker and a radio identification tag, so they will follow you wherever you are and they can hear what you're saying. So there are already companies doing this in Wall Street. Is that going to freak you out? You might get no choice. Holograms. I was at the airport. Here's a salesperson selling a product really well, but except they weren't there. So you got to realize, even though we're people, you can quote me here, people suck. They want to get paid. They get tired. If you ask a person to give that same speech 100 times, they would just go crazy. But a hologram doesn't care. And you can change the person from a regular person to Elvis if you want. So, and then you'll see predictive analytics. So nobody cares what happened yesterday. All HR metrics stink. Why? They tell you what happened last year. I know who won the Super Bowl last year. How valuable is that? Worthless. I want to know what's going to happen next year. So visualize all the jobs at your firm that are already done by robots. So let's look at corporate jobs that have gone away. How about bank tellers? A lot of those? Would you want your son or daughter to prepare to be a bank teller? No. And by the way, the ATM's going away. Why? Because you can use your phone. The problem with the ATM is it's not very mobile. Okay, so here's the job. Remember Xerox operators? Fax machines? Switchboards? Travel agents? Remember those? Stock traders? Telemarketers? Remember when a human used to call you up and wake you up in the middle of the night? And now it's a robot. And all bank employees are going to be gone. Now, how about HR jobs? I've been in HR a while. We used to have people that did org charts by hand. We used to have a call center. Remember HR call centers? Personnel clerk, secretary. benefits people, even people that check references, now done remotely. So could this be the future? Humans need not apply. Please respond. No, it could scare you. It could be an opportunity. All right. So here are the 3 action steps I want you to take. Be part of the decision making, and I'll show you why. Develop criteria. When should you pick robots? And then last, how do you handle this literally hostile employee pushback? So we're already at a disadvantage in HR in that we're usually not part of these decisions. So here's why. We're not invited. We don't even go to these sessions. Now stop me if you do, that's good. We have little influence because we don't have data. We don't have data that show that people are better. Next, technology people argue they know people and technology. But come on, no one argues that I know that HR is good at technology. We're not tech savvy. Come on, you still have your grandson and granddaughter teach you how to use your iPhone, don't you? Lighten up. All right? Metrics. When they install robots, there's numbers, there's data. Employees have no performance metrics. Tech departments calculate the ROI. So anybody know the ROI of people? What's the ROI of a great employee as opposed to an average one? So Bill mentioned, you got to know which ones matter. Do all employees equal? And then last, you need to know the advantages of people and technology. So I have a list here. So I call it what's wrong with people. Don't take offense. Not you. What's wrong with people in general? They want pay, they want overtime, they want benefits. And they want it continuously. So if you buy a robot and you pay for it, you own it, it's over. But you guys want pay every day. Next. Then when you retire, you want to get paid till you die. Don't you? Minimum wage means hourly workers are really expensive, so robots are better. How many of you can work 24/7 in bad weather? So I used to live in Miami. You can't work when it's raining cats and dogs. Error rate is huge for people. Skills become obsolete. How easy is it? Bill, you probably know this. How easy is it to upgrade people's skills? Is there a mod you can just plug in, or is it pain in the butt? Yeah, okay. They require a manager. Robots don't. They get sick. People are late, they're absent. They even get killed. 150 get killed a day. They arrive late, they're drunk, they're sleepy. In California, they're high. As far as I know, robots don't know what 420 means. They get tired, they get hurt, they lie, they steal, they reveal company secrets, they join unions. Oh my God. And they create these interpersonal conflicts. So it turns out when you put robots and people alongside each other, the robots don't complain. It's the people. That son of a gun robot stole my lunch. And then the last one, you can just put the robot in the dumpster. But people, they don't want to leave. They fight it. They want money. Yeah, I'll leave, but I want severance. So do you see why people have disadvantages? I don't know why we even tolerated them all this time. Okay, how about robots or technology? They have higher capabilities. They work in any weather. They do precision work with an incredibly low error rate. They do mental calculations. They do physical work. So robots are physically 10 times stronger if you need physical work done. High volume at low cost. They do work faster, literally 5 times faster than people. They don't get tired. I mentioned the phone app. Because it's everywhere, and it makes it possible to do work almost from anywhere. They find relationships. It turns out people are not good at connecting the dots. So if something happens right next to them, they know it. But computers and technology can tell you what's happening very far away, big picture. They seldom have a steep learning curve. They learn quickly. And they even get emails. Upgrade your computer, your robot. It reminds you. But people don't get those emails or they don't listen to them. And then there's replacement vendors. They're everywhere. So if you say, I don't want people anymore, there are dozens of choices. All right. So help me here. Where are people superior to technology? Come on, you've been people for a while, right? What makes us better? What are things that we're good at? Yeah. I'm sorry? Helping other people. Is that true? No, robots help other people. Are people better because people get tired? Creativity. Okay. So it turns out almost all innovation comes from people. If you want innovation, robots tend to do the same thing. Good. How about building relationships? Now, before you answer, how many of you are in love with Siri? And Alexa's kind of cute, too. Empathy. Turns out you're empathetic. So a robot cannot look at you and say, oh, you care. And if you're trying to sell things, caring matters. Are they better at sales? It turns out no. You go to McDonald's. You want fries with that? As opposed to Amazon says, oh, what a great choice. That will look great on you. Others have bought this. Maybe you should too. So I'm telling you, we've gone through this. There's only 3 things we're better at. Come on, argue. All right, step number 2. You have to develop selection criteria. So put together criteria. When should you hire humans? When should you hire robots? So part of that criteria is the performance differential. So robots are often 2.5 or 3 times more productive. Next, will there be customer resistance? So let's say you were getting a tooth operated on and a robot came up. Would it scare you? I've never done this before. Please open your mouth. All right, so if the customer won't use it, you can't. But guess what? You don't know there's a computer behind Siri, do you? Is the work strenuous or dangerous? We want a robot. Reliability important, the error rates, it turns out they're much better. Global capability. If you want to do global, robots can do that. Global means they understand many different languages. What's the probability of failure? So, I'm a hiring expert. What percentage of new hires fail? Now, before you answer, what's a bad number? You're hiring pilots. What percentage is a bad number? So you know the average failure rate for new hires across all jobs? 50%. We get it wrong 50% of the time. People suck. Can robots do it better? So it turns out there's actually a study. If you videotape interviews, you'll find that managers make hiring mistakes as high as 80% wrong. Managers are easily fooled. But if you videotape it and you have neurolinguistic programming and cameras, the success rate is 80%. So I know you don't want to hear that, oh, I've been doing this 22 years. Good for you. You're no good at it. I'm the Michael Dam Jordan of hiring, and I'm no good at it. All right. Cost, ROI, the vendor reliability. Is there a vendor available that's going to do a good job? How about upgrades? Is it adaptable? So it turns out People are not adaptable under crisis. They actually make mistakes. And the last one is innovation required. So develop a checklist. Sit down and figure out what works. You're being so quiet. Almost robotic. Joke. All right. Where does most productivity come from? So hopefully you know this if you're at a data conference especially. Which employees are the most productive and which robots? So here's an example. With fewer employees, you have to have the right ones. This is from Google. How much do the top 10 produce? If this was Stephen Curry or LeBron James, how much does the top 10 produce? 10%, you think. So if you've heard of the sales rule, 80-20, so Google actually has a rule which is 90-10. This might be the most important fact you hear today. Top performers produce 90% of the value, which means 90% of the people produce not very much. So if I ask you, could you make a list of those top 10%? Well, we have performance appraisal, as Bill said. It's like, no, you don't have a clue. So you better know who they are, because you're going to need robots, and then you're going to need these top 10%. But how about Homer Simpson? Do we need Homer? Not so much. Clear? Questions? We've always thought, HR, we treated people equally. It turns out that's a mistake. Okay, which level of employees, performance level? So this is from the Container Store. So Google is a pretty sophisticated company. They found that one great person is equal to 3 good people. Hiring people is a mistake if they're average. So what have they found? They pay 100% more. They double the pay, but they get 3 times the return. Does that make sense? So if you underpay, you get Homer. You pay more, and Google actually pays exponentially. No one else does that. If you perform 10 times more, they will actually pay you 10 times more. They call it paying unfair. And then when you come in and say, well, she's getting 10 times more, they call it a great conversation. Well, let's talk. Look at your performance, look at hers. All right, let's talk about robots for a minute. So robots produce better quality and make fewer errors. So here's an example. This is in China. They replaced 90% of its workforce. Is that good? I knew a CFO, and I'm saying he wants to lay off 5% of the workforce. I said, why don't we just lay them all off? Think how much money that would save. That was a joke. He actually started calculating. Because it would save you a lot of money, but you wouldn't produce anything. So the question is, they used to have 650 workers to make mobile phones, and now they have 60. So here's a good example. Should you do this? So look at the productivity. The productivity went up 250%, and the defects went down. People get tired, and they make mistakes. Questions? All right. If you have robots, then the remaining employees have to be special. And we've seen the value of that top 10%. So first of all, technical employees. They're going to be hard to attract, hard to keep, hard to manage. So you have to shift your recruiting so that you can find technologists. And with more robots, the demand is going to be much higher. The remaining employees that aren't technologists are going to have to know technology, going to have to be top performers. Innovators, we have to have those. How do you tell an innovator? So in California, they have neck tattoos. They have earrings. When you say this is the way we do it, they say, Granddad, I wouldn't do it that way. That's stupid. I mean, they literally confront you with, you have a black phone with a wire? Good for you, Granddad. So how do you find innovators? So it turns out if you go to LinkedIn and type in innovators, people that say they're innovators are not. They're thieves. I was around when it happened, and I stole it and put it in my LinkedIn thing, but I had nothing to do with it. Okay? And then with Six Sigma, by the way, precision kills innovation. When you try something crazy, Six Sigma says no. So if you have Six Sigma at your company, you're killing innovation. Let people make mistakes. All right, the remaining managers will have to be able to manage both technology and people. And most managers are not good at that. So the remaining employees have to be special. The third step, you have to be aware of the problems that will be created with robotics. So this is the most important. You don't have to study robotics. You don't have to believe in it. But you're going to be in HR when this tsunami of unhappiness comes in. I hear you're replacing me with a robot, you bastard. They're not going to like you. They're not going to be kind to you. And when they realize they're not going to have another job ever in their life, they're going to be hostile. So here's a quote. Computers, intelligent machines, and robots seem like the workforce of the future, and as more and more jobs are replaced by technology, people will have less work to do. So ultimately, we're going to have to pay them welfare payments. Half of the population. Wouldn't that scare you? So you don't have to believe me, but what if I'm right? What if in a year or two or three, all the truck drivers from your company are to come in and say, you're eliminating my job, some stupid robot, and I'm not happy about it. And they're not going to hug you. So we need programs how to calm these people down. You can't retrain them probably, so what are you going to do? Elon Musk's a pretty smart guy, right? All right. So here are the problems you're going to face. Executives want a smooth transition. They don't want some lady to pour the Coke in the machine. They want it smooth implementation. Stress level. Employees are going to be freaking out. And with social media, they're going to tell everyone. Next, sabotage. Yes. Violence. So it turns out if you keep your job and the other team doesn't, it literally could be violent. Location trackers. You're going to see this in your employee ID badge, and there's going to be huge resistance. Come on, anybody want? What if I told you that badge you have on, that ACI badge, knows what you had for lunch? So there are companies doing this already. It's not just me. Come on. Unions, they're going to resist it, and then new unions are going to form because they don't want this, and we know that from Europe. And then layoffs are going to be continuous. So have you ever worked at a firm where there were layoffs and then a month later or 6 months later? It's a horrible experience. Who will be the future managers? When you don't have very many employees, they can't develop. And when the decisions are made by robots, guess what? Your employees won't develop into managers. So you will have a weaker management group. Retention. If you know your job is being replaced in 6 months, what are you going to do? You're going to look for another one. And so we might need, not retention bonuses, because they'll stay, but a retention bonus is paying someone to stay, but they're still pissed off, and they're going to grump all over the place. So project completion bonus is, okay, if you stay and the project's completed, we'll give you this. This one most people don't realize is called a ghost town. Anybody remember Jack Welch was known as Neutron Jack? You do? So he literally laid off everyone, and there was this, like a neutron bomb, the place was empty. It was a ghost town. What is it going to be like when you look across at your friend that you've worked with and that desk is empty? And you go to the parking lot and that parking lot is empty. It's like a ghost town. It's so depressing. And then, probably the most important from a business standpoint, bad PR. It turns out all these people being laid off or not having a job are going to take it out on your company. So what if you don't treat your employees well? What if you're mean to them? It turns out it will also affect your product sales. All right. reskilling or upskilling is going to be hard. So why? Why don't we just retrain everyone? So when you're at General Motors and you update, you retrain people. But what if you're moving from gas motors to electric motors? Turns out almost no one can be retrained. So remember this. No, you can't have another job and we will not retrain you. But the skills are so different. The time. If you move from one product to another, the skills change so much that you don't even have the capability, or you can't wait. So if you go from televisions to mobile phones, no, it's not possible to train people. It takes forever. Employees won't like the training. A lot of them won't be successful at it. It'll fail. And then by the time the training is developed, the technology will have moved on. So come on, what if it was a mobile phone? And I started in January to develop a program, and it takes 6 months. How long before that feature is gone and replaced? So a mobile phone changes at 100% per year. Huge. All right. If retraining doesn't work, then you can just hire people. So here's the data I mentioned before. What percent of all hires fail? We're not good at this. Okay, but what about hourly employees? They're easier, right? No, in 6 months, half of them fail. Now, by the way, these are 3 different studies. It's not the same place. How about managers? You're good at hiring managers, right? Not so much. How about executives? What percent of executive hires, senior people, fail within 18 months? So it's good that we're in an analytics conference. It's good that we're workforce planning. Got to find out what you're good at, because robots are good at other stuff, and they're going to take your job. So find out, do you make bad people better? If so, great. But what if the robots are better, completely better? All right, so let's end with some implementation steps. If you're going to be aware of robots, or HHR, put together a team business case. Should you be involved in figuring out when robots are better? Benchmark, Amazon, people like that are really good at this. Data-driven approach. Everything has to be data-driven because all robots are digital. And they're all interconnected. So you've heard of the Internet of Things, right? So they're already talking to each other with data. People, not so much. Form a partnership with the right departments. Get selection criteria. Hire everyone that's tech savvy. So give them a new piece of technology and say, figure it out. And when they take more than 20 minutes, you can't hire them. Assess vendors, measure results, and improve. Gig hiring. It turns out we will have employees, but most of them will be gig employees. You know what that means? So gig is you come in for a day or a week, or you work part-time. So most HR people are not good at hiring gig people either. So we have to focus on that. If they're only going to be here a week, they better be really good. All right, and last, who's really good at this? So Amazon. These people are crazy. But you know they're the 5th most valuable firm in the world? So if you look at the most valuable firms, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Amazon, they're amazing. So they're not afraid of technology. So let me ask you a question. What percentage of Google employees are engineers so they can do robots? So the number is 50%. You'd expect that. Goldman Sachs, financial firm, investment firm. What percentage of their employees are engineers? It's 1/3. So they don't have tellers. And guess what? Most exchanges are now made by software in nanoseconds. So if you've heard their story, they have literally moved their data centers closer to the trading thing because the nanosecond it takes for the electricity costs them millions. So when you said, I want an employee to carry the information or make the trade, they just laugh. All right. Did I make you think? So you might be uncomfortable or not want to hear this. That's fine. But HR has changed. So I was in HR when they had paper. Remember paper? Remember pensions? Remember, can I help you? Call centers, things like that. So if you don't want to change HR, that's fine. But when they start hiring robots instead of people, you have to be part of the conversation. So if you have any questions or comments, I'd be glad to hear them. Thank you. It's been an honor. No questions? Yes. There's a microphone there if you mind. Just push that down and hold. You have to push the button down. Hold it down. Yeah, hold it down. There you go. Great.
So, amazing presentation. And we're already starting to see a lot of companies actually using algorithms, and they give them names, like to your point, right, to do the work. And I think in HR, I would say 90% of my organization is not aware of this. There might be like a 10% on the executives that actually understand what is happening. So one thing that we have to do is awareness. Have you looked into the actual mix between robots and people? Like at some point in time, it's not going to be just hiring a robot or a person or an algorithm. Maybe it's going to be a combination of a person who actually has some robotics as part of their job. Have you thought about that?
Certainly, because that's the question. Do you want all robots? No, dances are no fun when everyone's a robot. So what is the ratio? So I can tell you, Google is the best at this. Their slogan is, people decisions are made at the same level as engineering decisions. So that means data and numbers. That means not today, but a forecast. So Google's really good at it, and I showed you the value of top people. So guess what? How do you make a room more productive? So let's say we have people. I want it to be 20% more productive. So the answer is paint the room a different color. Anybody know that? Shh, I didn't know that. Data told them that. Anybody know the right color? Because this isn't it, and no wonder you're falling asleep. Pale blue, not blue, but pale blue and pale green. So their anal would be the term. They measure the length of the cafeteria line. So the food's free, right? But why don't you want short lines? Because people collaborate. So they literally, the vice president of human resources' job is to measure the length of a line, and it better be 3 minutes or you're going to get fired. And it better not be half a minute because then people don't collaborate. So Google would be the example. They've looked at everything from the color to you name it. And they found we always hired people using these algorithms or brain teasers. Turns out they don't predict. So just in case you don't know, grades don't predict. The school you went to, I know you paid a lot of money, but it doesn't predict. Because Zuckerberg didn't go to college or graduated. So the answer is no. What you thought was true is not true. So yeah, there are algorithms for everything. And I didn't bring it, but I can show you. They can even predict the success of promotions with an algorithm. So most companies don't talk about it. If you have free time, read the book Work Rules by Laszlo Bock. He puts it all out. He spells it out. And he got his ass fired because he gave away all the secrets. I read somewhere you're not supposed to do that. But Laszlo Bock, B-O-C-K. So the best book I've ever read, except for Dave's, it explains exactly what algorithms they use. How about what increases performance? So it used to be knowledge or brains. Now it's network. It turns out if you know a lot of people, you don't need to know anything because you'll just ask people. So they measure your network. I never knew that. And when you say, I don't know anything, but I know people that do, it's like, good for you. All right, we're probably out of time. Thank you again. It's been an honor.